The first 48 hours of a blackout are uncomfortable. You light some candles, eat what's in the fridge, and wait for the power to come back. But when day 3 arrives and the lights still haven't flickered on, everything changes. This is when you enter territory that preppers understand but rarely discuss openly, because the reality is far less glamorous and far more psychologically demanding than most people imagine. Your body can survive 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. After 48 hours without power, municipal water systems begin to fail. The pressure drops, then stops completely. When you turn on your tap and nothing comes out, a primal fear sets in that no amount of canned goods can satisfy. This is the moment preppers have planned for, and it's the moment that separates survivors from statistics. Most people think about filling the bathtub when a storm is coming, and that's good advice. But what they don't realize is that a standard bathtub holds about 40 gallons, and a family of 4 needs at least 2 gallons per person per day just for drinking and basic hygiene. That bathtub water is gone in 5 days, and you're only just beginning week 2 of the blackout. Here's what preppers know that they rarely share. Your home contains 200 or more gallons of water you've never thought about. Your water heater alone holds 40 to 80 gallons of perfectly drinkable water. To access it, you turn off the power or gas to the heater immediately, let it cool for 30 minutes if it was recently heated, then turn off the water intake valve at the top. Attach a garden hose to the drain valve at the bottom. Open a hot water faucet somewhere in your house to break the vacuum, then open the drain valve. The first gallon will be rusty and full of sediment, but once it runs clear, you have dozens of gallons of water that could save your life. Your toilet tank, not the bowl, holds another 2 to 3 gallons of clean water. It's the same water that comes from your tap, assuming you haven't put cleaning chemicals in the tank. The pipes in your walls hold water too. Open the highest faucet in your house to break the vacuum, then collect from the lowest point. Depending on your home's size, this yields another 2 to 5 gallons. Even your freezer becomes a water source. As the power stays out and things begin to thaw, all that ice is clean drinking water. A full freezer can contain 10 to 20 pounds of ice, which becomes 1 to 2 gallons of water. Preppers know to transfer melting ice to clean containers rather than letting it drain away. The problem isn't just finding water, though. It's keeping it safe to drink. After the first week, any water you've collected can become contaminated with bacteria. This is where purification becomes critical, and it's simpler than most people think. Boiling water for just 1 minute kills virtually everything that can hurt you. If you're above 6,500 feet elevation, boil for 3 minutes. No fancy equipment needed, just fire and a pot. If you can't boil water, regular unscented household bleach becomes liquid gold. 8 drops of bleach per gallon of water, let it sit for 30 minutes, and it's safe to drink. It'll taste like pool water, but it won't kill you. The trick is to filter the water through cloth first to remove particles, because bleach doesn't work as well in cloudy water. Preppers keep bleach in their supplies not for cleaning, but specifically for this purpose. Here's the thing nobody wants to discuss, but it becomes the most urgent problem after water. What do you do with human waste when toilets don't flush? This isn't a minor inconvenience. This is a public health crisis waiting to happen in your own home. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid. These diseases killed millions before modern sanitation, and they come roaring back when waste management fails. After 48 hours without water pressure, your toilet is useless. You can manually flush it by pouring a bucket of water directly into the bowl, but that only works if the sewer system is still functioning. In extended blackouts, sewage systems back up, and that last thing you want is waste coming back into your house. Preppers know this, which is why they switch to emergency sanitation immediately. The solution is brutally simple: a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. Line it with a heavy-duty garbage bag, and after each use, cover the waste with sawdust, shredded newspaper, or kitty litter. The covering absorbs liquid and controls odor. When the bag is about half full, tie it off, put it inside a second bag, seal that one too, and store it outside away from your living space. This is your toilet for the next several weeks. The smell becomes a problem faster than you'd think. Even with covering material, waste creates odors that attract flies and rodents. Preppers use agricultural lime powder, not garden lime, to neutralize these odors. A light dusting after each use makes a massive difference. This is one of those unsexy supplies that sits in their garage, but when the time comes, it's worth its weight in gold. Gray water management is the other half of the sanitation equation. Water you've used for washing dishes or bathing can be reused to flush waste or water plants. Preppers separate their water systems. Drinking water stays pure, gray water gets reused, and wastewater is disposed of carefully. This hierarchy keeps precious clean water for drinking while extending the utility of every drop. By day 7, the social dynamics of your neighborhood shift in ways that are difficult to predict and uncomfortable to acknowledge. This is where prepper philosophy gets controversial, because it requires accepting some dark truths about human behavior under stress. In the first 48 hours, neighbors help each other. Someone fires up a grill and cooks everything in their freezer before it spoils, sharing with the block. People check on elderly residents and pool resources. There's a frontier spirit, a sense of adventure even. But by day 7, when it becomes clear the power isn't coming back anytime soon, that spirit curdles into something else. Preppers call it operational security or OPSEC. The fundamental principle is this: never let anyone know you have supplies. This sounds paranoid until you understand the math. If you have food for your family for 3 months and you help one hungry neighbor, word spreads. Now 5 families know you have supplies. By the end of day 8, you have 20 people at your door, and your 3-month supply is gone in a week. You've condemned your own family to starvation while providing temporary relief to others. This is the moral calculation preppers make in private but rarely discuss in public, because it sounds cruel. But the reality is that in extended emergencies, visible resources make you a target. The gray man principle means staying invisible, appearing to be struggling just like everyone else. You don't run generators during the day when everyone can hear them. You don't cook food when the smell wafts to hungry neighbors. You cover windows completely at night so no one sees you have lights. This isolation is psychologically brutal. You're living in relative comfort while hearing your neighbors suffer, and you can't help without jeopardizing your family's survival. This is why preppers build mutual assistance groups or MAGs before disasters strike. Small circles of like-minded people who prep together and agree to support only each other when things go wrong. It's not about being antisocial. It's about drawing sustainable boundaries. Security becomes a concern in ways most people never imagine. Not necessarily violent crime, though that increases, but simply the pressure of desperate people making increasingly desperate decisions. Someone who would never normally steal might justify taking from someone who has plenty. A normally friendly neighbor might share that you have a generator with someone else, not meaning harm but creating a cascading information problem. Preppers vary their routines specifically to avoid being predictable. They don't take out trash at the same time every day. They don't have visible patterns that others can observe and plan around. They understand that in extended emergencies, the person who looks like they have their act together becomes interesting to people who don't. Most people dramatically overestimate how long their food will last. A family of 4 needs about 8,000 to 12,000 calories per day just to maintain basic energy levels. That's minimum. If you're doing physical labor, hauling water, cutting wood, or dealing with stress, you need even more. When preppers calculate their food storage, they don't think in terms of meals. They think in terms of calories per pound and shelf life. Your refrigerator is useless after 24 hours if you don't open it, maybe 48 if you're incredibly disciplined. Your freezer lasts 48 hours if it's completely full, 24 hours if it's half empty. After that, it's all spoiled unless you've cooked and preserved it immediately. This is why preppers don't rely on refrigeration. They stockpile foods that don't require it. Rice, beans, pasta, canned goods, freeze-dried meals. Here's what surprises people. Condiments become valuable. That jar of mayonnaise in your fridge has 1,440 calories. Peanut butter has 2,800 calories per jar. Cooking oil has 1,820 calories per cup. These calorie-dense foods keep you going when everything else is gone. Preppers know that in survival situations, you need fat and protein, not just carbohydrates. Canned goods are the backbone of any realistic food storage plan. But here's the thing everyone forgets. You need a manual can opener. Electric ones are useless, and if you only have one of those smooth-edge safety openers, you're going to struggle. Preppers keep multiple P38 military can openers stashed everywhere because they're tiny, indestructible, and they work. The other food reality is psychological. Food fatigue is real. If you're eating plain rice and beans every day, morale collapses. This affects decision-making, increases family conflict, and makes an already stressful situation unbearable. Preppers include variety in their storage: spices, hot sauce, bouillon cubes, anything that makes bland survival food more tolerable. These little things maintain mental health when everything else is falling apart. By week 2, medical issues become life-threatening in ways that wouldn't matter in normal times. A small cut on your hand becomes infected. Without antibiotics, that infection spreads. This is how people died for most of human history, and it's how they die again when modern medicine becomes unavailable. For people on daily medications, the crisis is immediate. Insulin requires refrigeration and degrades rapidly without it. After 28 days at room temperature, it loses effectiveness. If you're diabetic and the power stays out for a month, you're in serious trouble. Blood pressure medications can't be skipped without dangerous rebound effects. Heart conditions, asthma, epilepsy, all become potentially fatal without consistent medication. Preppers with chronic conditions stockpile medications when possible, though this is often difficult or illegal. Some work with their doctors to get 90-day supplies. Others purchase fish antibiotics, which are chemically identical to human antibiotics, but legally sold without prescription for aquarium use. This is controversial and potentially dangerous, but it reflects the calculation preppers make. Some risk now versus certain risk later. The mental health toll is something preppers rarely advertise because it undermines the image of the cool, collected survivor. The reality is that extended crisis is psychologically devastating. Cabin fever sets in hard when you're confined to your home, rationing resources and dealing with constant uncertainty. Depression, paranoia, and anxiety become epidemic. Family members who normally get along fine turn on each other under the pressure of close quarters and fear. Children are especially challenging. They don't understand why they can't go outside freely, why they can't have their normal food, why everything has changed. They pick up on adult stress and amplify it. Preppers with families know that keeping kids occupied and maintaining some sense of normalcy is critical. This is why they stockpile books, games, and art supplies. These aren't luxuries. They're mental health interventions. Decision fatigue becomes crippling. Every choice matters. Use water for drinking or washing, eat food now or save it, help a neighbor or protect your family, leave or stay. Normal life is full of trivial decisions. Crisis life is full of life or death decisions, and your brain isn't designed to sustain that level of vigilance. Preppers talk about this in their communities but not publicly. The exhaustion of constant threat assessment wears you down faster than physical deprivation. When the power goes out, so does information. Your phone dies, internet disappears, news stops flowing. You're suddenly living in the dark, literally and figuratively, with no idea what's happening or when things might return to normal. This information void is profoundly destabilizing. Preppers keep battery-powered or hand-crank radios specifically to receive NOAA weather radio and emergency broadcasts. These frequencies remain active during disasters and provide official updates. Without this connection to the outside world, rumors fill the vacuum. Someone heard the power will be back tomorrow. Someone else heard it'll be weeks. Someone claims there are riots in the city. Misinformation spreads faster than actual information, and it causes panic and poor decision-making. The uncertainty about duration is perhaps the most psychologically challenging aspect. If you knew the blackout would last exactly 2 weeks, you could plan accordingly. But you don't know. It might be 3 days. It might be 3 months. Every decision becomes a gamble. Do you eat normal portions or start rationing immediately? Do you use your generator or save fuel? These questions gnaw at you constantly. This is why preppers emphasize the importance of realistic timeframes. They don't prep for indefinite collapse. They prep for specific scenarios. 2 weeks without power, 1 month without resupply, 3 months of economic disruption. This gives them planning horizons that prevent both complacency and panic. When people think about prepping, they imagine tactical gear, bug-out bags, and firearms. The reality is far more mundane. The items preppers actually use in extended emergencies are boring hardware store basics that solve immediate practical problems. 5-gallon buckets with lids become everything. They're emergency toilets, water storage, seats, tables, and storage containers. A stack of 10 buckets costs less than $50 and solves dozens of problems. Heavy-duty garbage bags are equally versatile. Waste management, waterproofing gear, makeshift ponchos, ground covers, and emergency shelters. A box of 100 bags costs $20 and you'll use every one. Duct tape and tarps handle repairs, create shelter, collect rainwater, and improvise solutions to problems you didn't anticipate. Manual tools matter because everything else requires electricity or batteries. A good manual can opener, hand-crank tools, and basic repair implements become irreplaceable. Bleach purifies water and sanitizes surfaces, preventing disease in ways that no amount of food storage can. The most overlooked category is entertainment. Cards, books, board games, puzzles. These maintain sanity when you're confined indoors for weeks. Mental health is survival, and boredom accelerates psychological decline. Preppers know that a deck of cards weighs almost nothing but provides hours of engagement that prevents family conflict and depression. The question of whether to shelter in place or evacuate divides preppers constantly. The answer depends entirely on your location and circumstances. Urban environments become increasingly dangerous after 72 hours. Supply chains collapse, stores are looted, and population density works against you. If you're in a city and power hasn't returned by day 3, preppers generally advise leaving before roads become impassable or movement gets restricted. Suburban areas offer middle ground. You have more space than cities, access to some resources, and lower population density. For most suburban residents, staying put is the better option. You have shelter, stored supplies, and familiarity with your environment. Becoming a refugee rarely improves your situation. Rural locations are where everyone wishes they were during extended emergencies, which is exactly why preppers already there prepare to defend their position. Rural doesn't mean isolated from problems. It means you're where desperate urban and suburban refugees will try to reach. If you must evacuate, the bug-out bag mythology collapses immediately. Most people can't carry more than 25 to 35 pounds for any distance. That weight needs to prioritize water, shelter, fire starting, and then food, in that order. Waterproof copies of identification, insurance documents, and medical records matter more than most gear. The forgotten items are toilet paper, feminine hygiene products, and spare glasses, all of which become desperately needed and impossible to replace. The 72-hour rule is a decent guideline. If power isn't restored within 3 days, you're looking at a longer-term event requiring different planning. This is when you shift from riding it out to active survival management. Here's what preppers discuss privately, but rarely say publicly. Most people won't make it through the first 2 weeks without outside help. Not because they lack supplies, but because they lack the psychological resilience, practical skills, and mental frameworks to adapt. Survival isn't primarily about stuff. It's about capability. The person who can stay calm under pressure, make difficult decisions, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain hope while accepting reality, that person survives. The person with a garage full of supplies but no mental preparation panics, makes poor choices, and endangers themselves and others. This is why experienced preppers emphasize skills over stockpiles. Learning first aid, water purification, basic repairs, and emergency sanitation teaches you that you're capable of handling problems. This confidence is more valuable than any amount of stored food. Community building matters because humans are social animals who survive better in groups. Knowing your neighbors before crisis strikes means you have potential allies rather than potential threats. Physical fitness isn't optional in extended emergencies. Hauling water, cutting firewood, securing your home, these are physically demanding tasks. If you're not in reasonable shape, your survival margin shrinks dramatically. Preppers train, not because they're militaristic, but because they understand that capability requires capacity. Practice runs reveal what you actually need versus what you think you need. Turning off power to your house for a weekend shows you immediately where your plans fail. This feedback is invaluable and costs nothing but temporary discomfort. The secret preppers never share isn't about hidden caches or tactical gear. It's this. Most preparation is mundane, uncomfortable, and requires constant maintenance. It's having awkward conversations with family about what-if scenarios. It's spending money on boring essentials instead of fun purchases. It's regular inventory rotation, replacing expired items and testing equipment. It's accepting that you cannot save everyone without dooming yourself. It's living with the psychological burden of knowledge that most people don't want. It's being the person who thinks about worst-case scenarios, while everyone else lives in comfortable denial. True preparedness isn't about surviving alone in a bunker. It's about maintaining humanity, community, and hope, while navigating temporary infrastructure collapse. The best preparation is a resilient mindset and practical skills, not just stockpiled supplies. Because when the lights go out and stay out, the person who adapts survives. The person who panics doesn't. It's that simple and that hard. If this information opened your eyes to realities you hadn't considered, help spread this knowledge to others who need it. Like, subscribe, share, and comment with your own experiences or questions about emergency preparedness. The conversation about what really happens during extended emergencies needs to happen before the crisis, not during it.